Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a skill that, let's be honest, most of us think we've already mastered. But what if we stopped getting better at it years ago? I'm talking about reading, not just getting through the words, but really understanding a book.
So let me just ask you this, and I want you to really think about it. When was the last time you actively worked on getting better at reading? Not just reading more, but actually improving your ability to understand a complex idea from a book.
You know, the book that inspired this whole explainer, Mortimer Adler's classic How to Read a Book, has a pretty bold claim. It argues that for most of us, our reading skills just hit a complete wall right around middle school. We learn the basics and then that's it. The learning curve just flatlines.
Adler calls this the sixth grade plateau, and it really gets at a huge difference in how we read. It's the difference between reading for simple information and reading for true understanding.
See, most of us are pros at reading for information. We scan news articles, we absorb facts that pretty much line up with what we already believe. But reading for understanding, that's a whole different game. That's when you pick up a book that's frankly over your head, a book that's better than you are, and you have to stretch your mind to meet the author on their level. That's where real growth happens. So, how in the world do you get past this plateau? Well, the big idea here is to stop treating reading like it's a passive thing, like you're just watching TV. Instead, you've got to treat it like a skill, an active art that you can get better at with practice.
And this is the core of it right here. Active reading isn't about someone pouring knowledge into your brain. No, it's about you, with your own mind, grabbing onto the book and pulling yourself up to a higher place of understanding. It's a workout.
And luckily, this skill isn't some big mystery. You can think of it like a ladder with 4 rungs. We all start at the elementary level. That's just figuring out what the words on the page mean. But the real climb starts with inspectional reading, which is sizing a book up. Then you move to analytical reading, which is where you really understand it. And at the very top, syntopical reading, where you master a whole subject. Most of us never get past that first rung, so let's climb.
Okay, let's jump right to level 2, inspectional reading. This is probably the one skill that most of us skip completely. Think of it as sizing up a book before you decide to go all in on a deep, cover-to-cover read. You can kind of think of it like a pre-flight check. It's not just random flipping. It's a system for quickly figuring out what a book is about, what kind of book it is, and most importantly, if it's actually worth your valuable time and energy.
It's like you're creating a quick mental map of the book. You look at the title and the table of contents. That's the author's blueprint. You check the index to see which ideas the author keeps coming back to. Yeah, even read the little blurb on the jacket. By hitting these key points, in maybe 15 minutes, you can answer 3 huge questions. What kind of book is this? What's the main point? And what's the general structure?
Okay, so once you've inspected a book and you've decided, yep, this one's worth it, you are ready for level 3, analytical reading. And let me tell you, this is the main event. This is the real work of deep understanding.
We have all been there, right? You're reading the same dense paragraph over and over and over again, and you just feel totally drained. Well, this quote absolutely nails why. The exhaustion doesn't come from the effort, it comes from the frustration. Analytical reading gives you the tools to turn that frustrating stretch into a successful one.
This is the moment you stop being a passive sponge and start being a demanding reader. And believe it or not, the entire art of analytical reading boils down to one simple thing: being able to ask and answer 4 key questions.
First things first, you've got to be able to boil the entire book down to its core idea. What's the one single thing it's all about? If someone asks you what the book is about, can you give them the main point in a sentence or 2? This forces you to see the whole forest, not just a bunch of trees. Next up, you have to outline the author's message. What are their main key words? What are their key statements or propositions? You have to trace how they build their argument, piece by piece, to support their main idea. You're basically reverse engineering their logic. Now, the third question is all about judging the book. But, and this is a huge but, you have to earn the right to have an opinion. You can't just say I agree or I disagree based on a whim. You first have to be able to say, with total confidence, I understand. Criticism is the last step of understanding, never ever the first. And finally, we get to the payoff question. So what? If you agree with the author, what does that mean? Why does this knowledge matter? How should it change how you think or how you live your life? This is where you connect the book's ideas to the big picture and to your own life. So all of this hard work at level 3, it's all building up to the 4th and highest level of reading,
This is where you go from being a student of a single book to becoming a master of an entire subject.
This level is an absolute game changer. It's called syntopical reading, and here the books actually start working for you. You might read, say, 5 different books on leadership, and what you do is you put those authors in conversation with each other, even if they're from totally different centuries. You become the moderator of a debate between brilliant minds, and you end up creating an analyst that doesn't exist in any one of those books.
You know, when you start to master these levels, it totally changes the goal of reading. It makes you completely rethink what it even means to be well-read.
This quote from Thomas Hobbes is pretty harsh, but it gets at a really important point that our source material echoes. The goal isn't just to rack up a huge list of books you've read. Reading a ton of books but not understanding them is, frankly, a waste of time. It's all about the quality of your understanding, not the quantity of titles on Goodreads.
And this really is the biggest takeaway from our entire explainer. Being well-read has nothing to do with how many books you get through. It has everything to do with how many books get through to you. How many actually change how you see the world, challenge what you believe, and help you grow.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. Armed with this new way of thinking about reading, go take a look at your bookshelf. Which book on there have you just skimmed but never really understood, and which one is going to be the first one you decide to truly read?